Welcome to a new edition of Quarantine Catch-Up. I am your host, Tommy Rinaldi. As always, I am joined by Chris Famulero. And on today's episode, we have a ray of sunshine that doubles as a Disney princess in her spare time. Please welcome Veronica Gail. Veronica, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's an absolute pleasure. So, with everything going on with quarantine and the pandemic, how have you been feeling?
Right now, in the beginning it was a little rough, but right now I'm feeling okay. I'm kind of slowly getting used to this new normal, but at the same time, not really. So I'm like in this little limbo area, just like taking it day by day. That's all you can really do, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And as we ask in every episode, what have you been watching? What have you been listening to during this quarantine?
What have I been watching? Well, the Hamilton movie just came out, so I've been
Perfect.
watching that and everything to do with that. So all the conspiracies or like people just diving into it
Yeah.
and like saying like, oh, like there's 47 songs since Hamilton dies at 47 and stuff like that. Like all of it, I'm with the theories. It's awesome. Right now I'm binge watching Gossip Girl because I've never seen it. It's pretty good. It's not bad. Favorite thing I probably watched over quarantine though was Hollywood.
Okay.
That's a pretty good TV show. Highly recommend.
That's the Ryan Murphy produced show, right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. With Hamilton, I mean, I know you're a big fan of Broadway, you're a big fan of Disney and everything along that side. What was it like to watch it compared to watching it on Broadway to watching it on a streaming service?
I was a little nervous, I'm going to be honest. I feel like when you take a musical and put it into a film, the thing about musicals is you're not always looking at the main character because so much is going on. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times in films, versions of them, they'll like zoom in on the main character, and that's not really what I want to see. Sometimes I want to see the background actor running in the background and stuff like that. So that's what's kind of fun about musicals is you're looking everywhere. So I was nervous, but they did a good job with like showing the dancing and people singing, and they did a good variation.
That's awesome. And you said you really enjoyed Hollywood. I believe it goes into like the early stages of Hollywood and how everything goes to be. What are your thoughts on that show? You said you really enjoyed it.
I liked the whole like 1950s, like or 60s. I forgot exactly the era it set in, but like the music, it was just kind of like fun. Especially because I watched it like in like when we were all stuck in our houses, couldn't leave. So it's kind of nice to watch something with like a little bit of a more like lighthearted vibe.
Yeah.
It's definitely, is it historically accurate? No, completely not. Just know that going in, like this is so inaccurate.
Yeah.
But it was pretty good.
Good. We were talking about streaming services with you watching Hamilton, and I know Disney Plus is up there for all of us as something that we wanted for one reason or another. And you being our resident Disney princess looking like Moana, what are some of your top 5 Disney movies?
I wrote them down. I'm excited.
Perfect.
So for 5, I have Tangled. I love Tangled. I love this scene with the lanterns. And they're all just sitting in the boat. It's stunning. It's beautiful. It's great. 4, Incredibles 1 and 2. I put them together.
Perfect.
Just some classic superhero defeating the bad guys. It's great. 3, this one was kind of a wild card for me. Coco.
Solid.
Coco's great.
Coco is so good. First off, bawling my eyes out at the end every time. And when he's singing with the grandma, oh my, water, just waterfall. Plus the music, it's like the Spanish vibe. I'm like dancing along in my seat. Perfect. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's 2, classic, Beauty and the Beast. I love it.
Can't go wrong there.
Movie. And 1, Aladdin, another classic Disney princess movie.
For sure. And I think
it's great.
That's a great top 5. Some amazing songs throughout all of those. Chris, do you have a top 5, or can you just pull some out of the air for yourself?
For reasons for getting Disney Plus or just stuff on Disney Plus?
No, just top 5 Disney movies for yourself.
Oh, top 5 Disney movies for myself. Well,
personal favorites.
They would most definitely almost all be Pixar movies. Number 1 probably. Well, no, this isn't Pixar. But number 1's Lion King. Yeah, that's easily up there.
Good choice.
But back to Pixar, huge fan of Toy Story. Incredibles is also up there. I love Incredibles 1 and 2. WALL-E is also I'm a big fan of WALL-E. I love the story. I love the animation. Coco is very, very also up there as well. I thought that movie was stunning. Like, animation-wise, incredible.
It was gorgeous.
It was very, very sad. Like, it was very heart-wrenching. Like, easily one of the most heart-wrenching movies I had seen from them in a very long time. And then probably to round it out, I would probably say Inside Out. Inside Out would be the last one. And that is also, there's one scene in that movie that always gets me. And it's just, I know it's coming, but I can never prepare myself for it. And I just go along for the ride.
I totally get that. I didn't include any Pixar in my list, but Inside Out is my favorite Pixar all time. It has great themes. It has great characters. I think it's very well casted for the voice actors. But my top 5 will go bottom to top. Rescuers Down Under is something I grew up with and I really love. It's really funny. It's about nature and everything like that. So I thought that was really cool. Emperor's New Groove, kind of under the radar. This was at the time that Pixar was coming out with their 3D animation and everything. And it kind of went under the radar, but it's still hilarious. And I grew up with it and it's perfect. I think I would go Beauty and the Beast 3. Beauty and the Beast is just really good. Tale as Old as Time is a perfect song. 2, I would go Aladdin to kind of mix with your number 1, Veronica. And to mix with your number 1 is my number 1, Lion King. It's a perfect movie, start to finish, and I love it. But going into that, we have the live action remakes of Aladdin, of Beauty and the Beast, and of all these different movies. I wanted to get your ideas and thoughts on these different movies. Which ones did you like? Which ones didn't really hit for you? And do you think they should continue with what they're doing?
I think they should continue. I'm loving watching them. That's a lie. I don't love all of them, but I have enjoyed, like, I will still go see them when they make them.
Call them out, Veronica. Which one didn't you like?
All right, I'll say it. I didn't love Lion King. I love The Lion King. It's a great movie. It's not in my top 5, but it's definitely in my top 10. I just thought it was a little too similar to the animated version where I felt like I was watching the same thing with a different animation style. And it took me a little while to get used to the animation style. Like, it probably took me a good 50% of the movie, which is, like, really long for no reason. But, like, why did it take me that long? I don't know. And then once I got used to it, I was, like, getting into it. But, like, I don't know. It just, because I feel like it was so real, it lost a lot of the whimsical fantasy aspects that Disney brings.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it was a good movie. It was made really well. It was really cool to see how they made it, but it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, totally it was one of the live action. It was one of the live action ones I was actually most excited for because I had seen the Beauty and the Beast live action remake and that was good, but I felt the same. Like, it felt so similar to the animation. The acting was really good in the live action one. I thought Emma Watson did a really good job as Belle. But other than that, it just felt so similar. I was so excited for the live action remake of Lion King because I loved the cast. I loved everybody they had. You know, I thought Donald Glover as Simba was going to be great, and I thought Beyonce was going to do a great job, and they did. But I think the main thing that I really struggled with was the scenes that they added to attempt to make it different held no importance whatsoever. Like, they were just these one-off scenes and a one-off song that just didn't matter. But I thought all the new performances were great. Like, I thought all the singing in the movie was really good. But I would agree, it's definitely not the best live-action remake they've made.
Yeah, I agree with that. I with it being animals, you don't get the facial expressions that you would get from an animated movie. And I think that's something that really brought your heart to Simba, brought your heart to Timon and Pumbaa and everything like that. You get to see how expressive they are. And when it's just a blank animal face, it's like, it's harder to connect. And then you have the scene where Mufasa's in the clouds with like one strike of lightning instead of him just being there the whole time. And there's some other scenes within it that I was like, I miss the original version instead of what they gave us in the live action. But one of the live action ones that I really enjoyed was Aladdin. I thought it's impossible to replace Robin Williams as a genie, but Will Smith did an amazing job making it his own. I thought Jasmine's new song was actually a really good addition to it. What did you think of the live action Aladdin, Veronica?
I loved it. I actually had everything written down that you said. I loved Will Smith as the genie. He did it completely different, and it worked. He was almost like, if you've seen the movie Hitch with Will Smith,
yeah.
It was like that. And I love that movie,
Me too.
so I was living for this. He's like just hyping him up. Like the whole dance scene was just funny.
Mm-hmm.
They added, like what they added, just it added to the movie, and it made it like, I don't know, just made it better. I loved it. Jasmine's new song was also awesome. I love that they did the whole speechless thing, her trying to become queen, a little woman empowerment thrown in. That was kind of cool. I was here for it, so I loved it.
Yeah, good. And of the movies that you've seen, what do you want to see in the future come out of these live action remakes? We're getting Mulan soon. We recently got Dumbo, but that was kind of under the radar and everything. What would you want to see be remade live action?
That's a good question. I know they're making The Little Mermaid, which I'm very excited to see how they do. Like the whole underwater thing.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting.
I'm very excited to see how they pull that off. Mulan's definitely going to be cool. I'm also very excited for that. Which one? I would love to see a Hercules live action.
There you go.
Hercules, again, so underrated. Probably my 6.
Yeah.
Argued 5 in my top 5. That's why it wasn't mentioned. Arguably. Such a good movie. I know I've heard rumors of them trying to bring it to Broadway. Thank God it's been mentioned there for years. Don't know where it's been. That'd just be sick. It'd just be so cool.
I saw a lot of rumors about the Hercules casting, and they were casting Noah Centineo. Is that how you say his name?
I don't even know.
I was like,
not my choice.
I tweeted it when those first rumors came out. I was like, if you don't have Chris Pratt and Aubrey Plaza as Hercules and Meg,
that's perfect.
I don't care if they can't sing. Make them be that's quality casting right there. You can get buff Chris Pratt and Aubrey Plaza will nail the role as Meg. It would be perfect. Wow. You can still have Danny DeVito in it.
You should have Danny DeVito.
It's
necessary.
You have to at this point, honestly. And it's just that would be. I would love to see a live action Hercules. One other movie that's not a Disney but is a Pixar animation that I would really love, is a pipe dream I'd love to see be made live action, is I'd love to see Bug's Life somehow made into a real life movie.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes.
Basically, I'd love to see how they would take Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but also have bugs, and you could understand their facial reactions and stuff, because it's when Lion King was out and everybody was complaining about the animation, they were all doing those fan edits of the mix of the animation faces with the live action stuff. I feel with Bug's Life, that would be an okay route to go, because obviously you can't tell what a bug's face would be saying. So you could take the animation style of just the faces and then again kind of go, but then again, I think there's so many people afraid of bugs, it wouldn't work out at all. But I just think of how cool that movie would be. It would be so cool.
So weird.
I don't know. Maybe it's not a good idea.
I think it's interesting for sure, but I never heard that fan casting of Chris Pratt and Aubrey Plaza. I think that's amazing. I think Meg's song is one of the better songs in Disney lore, and Go the Distance is very good too. And I think that's just a lot of fun that you could have with that movie, with Pain and Panic and everything. Start to finish, that movie would be a lot of fun. And having Danny DeVito, he could do whatever he wants, especially as Phil.
King.
So good. Veronica, I want to know where your love of Disney and musicals really came from. I've seen you go through a bunch of shows on Broadway and stuff. Where does that love come from?
So when I was little, my grandma had she would just buy the tapes. They weren't not deep.
The VHS
not
tapes.
Cassettes, but VHS. Yes.
Yeah.
She'd have VHS tapes. I have them all in my basement in a
really
thing.
Aging ourselves here.
When they're money, I'll sell them all. So I have literally Cinderella, Snow White, Beauty and the Beast, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, all of in rows. She would just buy them for me, and I would go over and I would watch them all the time. I was constantly singing the songs. Kids are singing ABCs. I'm out here singing every song from Sleeping Beauty.
Perfect.
It was just the way I was, the way of life. So that's why I got started in Disney. And Disney and musicals are basically the same.
Hand in hand, yeah.
hand in hand. So then my mom had this, like, it was like it wasn't Kids Bop, but imagine like a Kids Bop CD of musical songs.
Oh yeah, it was it wasn't the Disney one, right? Disney had their own one, but there's also another like a musical one.
Yeah. It was like, I remember the 3 songs I listened to was Seasons of Love from Rent, Happiness from You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and a song from Cats. Literally started my love of theater with a song from Cats. That's like, I don't know. Interesting choice.
Yeah.
I have to ask, did you see the Cats?
I did
movie?
not. I didn't want to see
Avoided it like the plague.
I did. You know what's interesting though? The cast seems like really good. So I was like, the trailer came out and I was like, the cast why is it so stacked? Like,
Yeah.
some great people. I heard it was not good though. So.
Yeah, but then you just put them in half cat, half human naked bodies, and nobody's gonna want to see that. So
It's weird.
You have Idris Elba brooding as a cat, and it's just James Corden running around, and it's like, I'm lost.
No one
I'm
asked
lost.
for this.
Nobody asked for this. I'm lost.
I think I saw it somewhere. Someone said, from the theater kids of the world, nobody asked for Cats the Musical, a movie. And I was like, okay, agreed.
I feel like in the future, it'll be like The Room, where it's like something we watch for like the greatest bad movie of all time type of thing.
Yes.
And it's like one of those things you just watch as a joke with your friends. But what are some musicals that you really come to love, whether it is a movie like Sound of Music or whether it is a Broadway show?
Oh, okay. Let's see. All right, Hamilton, got to bring it up again, 10 out of 10, just because it's on Disney+. If you haven't watched it, go watch it on Disney+. It's 3 hours long. You can split it in half at intermission. Fantastic. Done so well. Lin-Manuel Miranda, genius. He's everything and more to me. Everything. He's also his other 2 musicals, In the Heights and Bring It On. Also check those out.
Good to know.
Obviously, like, I'm not really into the whole, like, Rodgers and Hammerstein. Like, that's not my vibe. I'm more of a contemporary theater person, more like modern stuff. So like Wicked, I love. I know it's so basic, but it's basic and everyone likes it for a reason because it's fun. All right. Yeah. I love the show. So underrated. Legally Blonde the musical. So funny.
Do you like it better than the movie?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
actually, the whole thing's on YouTube. MTV did a film of it. Whole thing's on YouTube. Fantastic. Done so well. Another one you can watch, Newsies, is on Disney+. It's just like the same thing as Hamilton, the way they filmed it. Stars Jeremy Jordan, who's fantastic. They added a couple extra songs for like the film. It was great. The dancing is unbelievable. They're just doing kicks and cartwheels, and I'm just like, that's amazing. I can never do that, but like really cool guys, like snaps to you.
Yeah.
So definitely a couple of my tops right there.
It's really interesting because all these Broadway actors are immensely talented, and it's not just in acting, it is with their voice, it is dancing. And I think a lot of people see theater trained people as more talented people. We see that through English theater as well, going through Shakespeare and everything of that nature. Another person that we all come to love is one Christian Gardner, and both of you have sung Dear Evan Hansen together and a bunch of other musicals. What's your favorite song from a musical?
Oh, favorite theater song in general?
Yeah.
That's a loaded question. Oh my.
If you have to pick more than one, just to...
I'm gonna do more than one because
that's okay.
I can't put it in one.
I understand.
Trying to think of songs I sang with Christian. I love this song. Last 5 years, Goodbye Until Tomorrow. Fantastic. It's their closing song. Great song. I'm trying to think. I love the opening to In the Heights.
Okay.
It's about, they wake up in the morning, he's like getting his bodega ready and everyone like passes through so you meet all the characters. But it's really fun, like it's funny, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda, he's funny, he's a genius. It's great, of course, it's Lin. Waving Through a Window, Dear Evan Hansen, so basic, Lin. So good. I don't know. I'm trying to think of others.
These are some good choices though.
I try to give good choices when I can. Yeah, and sometimes it's a mess.
With your
those are like a good 3.
Yeah, that's solid. And we talk about your love of theater, your love of Broadway, your love of Disney. You've also been very involved with media in Seton Hall, and I want to know where your passion comes from. I know you did some stuff in high school with Wayne Hills, their TV studio. You've been doing a lot of great things with Seton Hall, going to sporting events, covering interviews. Where does your passion for media come from?
So in high school, freshman year, I was like, this seems cool. It's a TV production class. Kind of sounds fun. Let's try it out. Can't hurt. So I took it, really liked it, ended up taking that class. So TV1, I took it like all 4 years. So I eventually was like TV4. And I just like creating things. And I think that's also one of my draws to theater as well. I like being creative. I like telling stories. I like sharing things with the world. So they're, in a way that I think they're very similar, more of like the entertainment side of media and musicals. They're like, they parallel a lot. And I think that's why I like both.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you've been able to do social media through Pirate TV. You've been able to do social media through DeFi-E, your sorority. What's it like trying to really get a grasp of the social media aspect, both of media and of something like a sorority where you have this community?
It's definitely, I didn't think it would be as hard as it was, just because you have to stay on top of it. You have to constantly be on your phone and checking to see what's going on. The best thing I found is just talking to people, seeing what they want, and following other pages similar to your own. It's like when I ran my sororities page, I followed a bunch of other sororities that I thought had really nice Instagram to see what they were doing and take inspiration from those. So like same with PTV, like I'll check like NBC and ABC and like check out their Instagrams, see what they're doing, see what I like, and take some inspiration from that to make, because they're both very different, because one is very more media, more is trying to market the stuff we make, and the other one's just kind of sisterhood, love, like I don't know. Like there has to be more trendy, more you have to have like a feed and certain like Instagram story posts, where the other one's more just this is what we do, this is what we make, check out our stuff.
Yeah. So. Going with more of the PTV stuff, we've seen you come in as a freshman and absolutely dominate the space along with the core four, we like to call it. You, Christian, Liam, and Val. You guys have honestly inspired me to do bigger and better things through PTV and doing stuff like this. How has it been coming up with people that you all have similar interests and you're all coming up together and working together for so far 2 years, but it will probably end up being 4 years throughout your college career?
It's definitely fun. It's funny because we all have different things that I would say are like our specialties.
Yeah.
Like Christian and Liam are really good at sports. That's kind of their thing. Val is very big at WSU with the whole music thing. He's the programming director right now. So he's always like telling us, he's like, I got an interview with this band. I have no idea what the band is, but go Val. Like, always support the homies. And then I'm more I do a lot of social media, stuff like that. So we all like have our different things so we can all come together. It's really fun because I remember we always help each other. Like I remember Christian had to do a video interview and Val did one already. So they were like talking in their group chat, like discussing the best way to do it. And like stuff like that happens all the time. I need sports advice. I'm in the library FaceTiming Liam or Christian asking, hey, what does points in the paint mean? I now know what points in the paint mean. Just stuff like that. It's cute. We all help each other out. We all have fun together. I text them like every day. They're like my best friends. It's cute.
Yeah, that's good. You guys are coming up on a pretty big year for individual groups wise. I mean, last year you guys had like a connector. I mean, for reference, I graduated and a couple of other producers graduated in 2019. Last year you got to hang on with Tommy for half the year, and then Rob and Ivana. And now you guys are taking over, just like Tommy and I in our group did 3 years ago now at this point. So what is really the feeling around all of you guys as producers? I mean, what are you thinking? You guys are hoping to be a little bit more creative? Are you trying to continue on what we started, or are you just trying to rebrand as a whole?
So we're definitely gonna keep what a lot of you guys started, because you guys did such a fantastic job, of course.
Oh,
with the whole
How sweet.
3 shows. Hall Talk will still be there. Don't worry, we're not changing it. I mean, with coronavirus, it's really interesting because like I don't really know like what we're going to be allowed to do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are we going to be allowed to go to production assignments?
Yeah.
Like, we don't really know. They were supposed to redo the TV studio over the summer. They're not anymore. So we were originally going to have to learn all new equipment. So we don't have that learning curve anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives us more time to create new content. But like, what's going to go on with like checking out equipment? Like, is that going to work the same? Are you going to have to like wipe things down?
Absolutely.
Like in the studio, are the people on air, are they going to have to wear masks? Are they going to be able to sit together? Are they going to have to be on separate sets, like far apart? Like these are all like little things that we're going to have to figure out. So I have a feeling, and because the semester's shorter, because we lose after Thanksgiving, I have a feeling this semester might be a little bit of a learning curve, trying to get through this like new age of media with coronavirus going on. And then maybe in the spring we start doing some more stuff. I don't really know. It's going to be an adventure, taking it one day at a time.
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
I think that's something you do a lot of social media blurbs and like little videos here and there just to keep people updated. I think that would be a good way of still integrating a lot of what you're doing with the social media aspect of Pirate TV and going into it with more one-off segments and pirate updates and a little fun stuff like that. Where do you want to go with media? I know you love theater, you love TV, you've dabbled in film a little bit. What's drawing you to what you could do in the future?
I'm going to be honest, I don't really know yet. I'm kind of just figuring it out. My thing is, while I'm in college, I might as well try as much things as I can because I'm able to. So I'm trying a little bit of news. I'm trying a little bit of sports, even though sports isn't, like, I know nothing about them. I'm trying a little bit of radio. I'm trying a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So then when I get out into the real world, it's like, okay, I know, like, I've done these things. I have these skills. Let's see what I like to do.
You know? I mean, that was evident your guys' freshman year. I mean, you love to say you don't know anything about sports, but Veronica, I mean, within the one basketball season that I got to work with you, it was incredible what you learned from the first shoot that we went on at Walsh to you were there the last game of the season against Villanova, the last home game against Villanova, and you just knew everything we were talking about. Like, you were this wealth of knowledge about understanding situational basketball, and you were understanding stat lines, and you were understanding important players and fouls and stuff like that. Like, you did everything that you said your goal was, and you learned, and you don't ever seem like you don't know what you're talking about. And when it comes to news, I mean, listening to your news broadcasts on WSOU, you sound like you've been doing it for years now. And when you were doing coverage for PTV in the studio or on location, always sounded like a professional. And that's what I admire about you. That's what I admire about your colleagues is you guys are willing to learn, you listen, and you just immediately pick it up. It's like, it's incredible how fast you guys learn, adjust, and grow in such a short time span. I'm sure you guys will absolutely handle this weird semester coming up with grace and be able to not only learn for yourselves, but teach other people who are new, you know?
Yeah, and going based off of that, I mean, we've definitely seen that growth. Where, in your personal opinion, everybody wants to get better with their career, with different things that they're doing. Where would you like to grow within your media landscape? I know you're doing a lot with WSOU News. You're doing a lot with PTV. What are some things that you would like to work on and really try to master?
I'm not really sure. I think I'd like to do, because I'm doing, I feel like, a lot of news and a lot of media coverage. I think it'd be fun to try a little something more creative and a little more entertainment, maybe, just because I don't have a lot of experience with that. And I think that would be something fun to get under my tool belt, see how I enjoy that, and go from there. I think that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely should. It's one thing as a student who's learning media, you really don't ever get to learn the really entertainment side of television or film, because it's usually like more under the creative umbrella, so that then becomes like an independent entity that's supposed to be almost on you to learn or understand. But I mean, Tommy and I tried multiple times to make something entertainment wise happen, whether it was a game show or it was we did the Robbie on the Green shoots. Hopefully you guys continue doing that just with somebody else, but maybe Veronica on the Green will be on its way.
That could be fun.
Ronnie on the green.
I think they were talking about possibly doing Val on the green.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Let's see if Val has time for that.
If Val has time for it, I think it would be very entertaining. If not Ronnie on the green, I could see it in the future. Who knows? Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Ronnie squared, Ronnie cubed. I mean, we have a lot of Ronnies.
Oh, we have Ronnie cubed.
There's a lot we could do with the PTV umbrella. And
stay tuned for the Ronnie cubed Hall Talk. It's coming in the near future. I don't know when, but it's coming.
We talk about Hall Talk and we talk about your growth and getting more comfortable with sports. What was that transition like between going from not really getting sports under your belt throughout your years? I know you were a cheerleader and all that stuff, but now more understanding, being able to go onto a talk show and show that you are this wealth of knowledge. And like, do you lean on anybody for like comfort while on the desk? Where do you find that sense of peace?
Honestly, a lot of times before I go on Hall Talk, you all will just be in the studio talking about whatever you're talking about, what happened with sports that week. And I'll just listen to what you guys say. I just won't just listen. Like, I'm not even there. And just hear what everyone's saying. And I'm like, okay, like, these are everyone's ideas. This is what happened that was important. I don't necessarily copy your ideas, but then I add them to my ideas. And usually at the desk, I feel like I'm always on with Christian or Leah. So usually, like, if I don't know what's going on, I'll just be like,
and we'll throw it off to you.
What's up, guys?
And I think that's something that's really important that we try to do with Hall Talk, with me and Chris's time there, is trying to make it more conversational so that, say you aren't comfortable with a certain subject or you couldn't get your research in for a certain sport, you are able to throw it to someone after giving a point or two and then going to the next thing. Chris, I wanted to know, where do you think Hall Talk could go with where we kind of made a little through line? Where do you want to see it go with the new group that PTV has?
Well, I mean, one, they have a whole slew of really creative and honestly really good on-screen talent. You know, that was the one thing I felt like I was a little choked with for my time, was I almost always had someone repeating. Like, there was almost always, it was either me or Rob or Bob Toohey or Matt Ambrose. Those were one of the people that were guaranteed to be on at some point. So I think now they have like a huge crew of people who are willing to learn, people like Veronica, or people who come in with a wealth of knowledge, or some people who just want to get better at on screen. So I hope they continue doing that. I hope they start implementing, this is what we tried to do. I hope we start implementing a little bit more of like on-field reporting, because that's something that, being a sports talk show, especially now working in the professional sports field, it's really something that's almost like critical to having a sports talk show, is you have to have that on-location stuff to show that you go to the things you're talking about, you know, whether it's a post-game report or it's a player interview or a coach interview. I mean, like you said, they're going to face a whole bunch of new challenges with coronavirus and media limitations and travel and stuff like that. So I'm very interested to see how this semester goes, but I have the absolute faith in this whole new group of producers, because the way they worked when we were the producers, I think nothing can, not even a pandemic, will get in their way of creating quality content.
And something that we started last year is trying to get more professional sports into the mix of what we're talking about. And I wanted to get your thoughts, Chris, on what did you think of those sports things that came out? We did a playoff for the baseball. We did a couple other things. Where would you want to see that go? Because that's something we really wanted to do when it was you and I as the sports directors. Where do you think that idea could go in the future?
I think it can go as far as you take it, really. I mean, it also opens up the possibility of having other people come in, you know, because sometimes college sports can be a little bit of a niche subject, since it's regional, it's also conference based, you know, players aren't that well known until they're basically superstars, you know. At least for professional sports, somebody like Veronica, who might not know as well, it's a little bit easier to research. Like, the statistics are almost accessible everywhere. Like for Big E Sports, you have to know where to go to find your information, to find your statistics. I thought it was great. I think I was annoyed that I didn't get to be a part of it, frankly. But you know, that's the L's you take sometimes. But honestly, I think just do it for every sport you can. Do it for every sport that somebody cares about in some corner. That's more viewers. That's more eyes and ears on your content. So do it for hockey, do it for baseball, do it for football, do it for lacrosse, do it for all women's sports. That's something that needs to be covered at the college level because it's barely covered in professional media. So if you do it at the college level, hopefully those people, once they're out of college, will continue that mindset of women's sports are important because they are. And you bring that with you. That should be part of your mentality. And honestly, Seton Hall had some great women's sports. You know, you had women's basketball. They were contenders. You had softball. They were a good team. The women's diving team was always good. Like, do stuff that people care about and see how many people, like, just see how many people will cover. You know, I think that's something that WSU and PTV are starting to do really well with include players because those players care about being talked about. It's nice to hear that somebody wants to know what's going on in your life or in your sports career. That could bring hundreds, if not thousands of eyes to your content. So I think, honestly, cover it all. No limitations. All right, so Veronica, just going on towards now, you know, we were talking about mine and Tommy's experience at PTV and WSU. You're now going into your junior year. You're upholding your leadership role in PTV. What are some of your goals now as a leader? I mean, you said this semester is going to be a little bit weird, but what are some of your goals as a leader now?
Just to get, when I joined PTV at first, you guys were so excited and you made it such a welcoming environment. Like even for Hall Talk, I was so scared to come to my first Hall Talk. But you guys were like, it'll be fun, like you're all good. Like it was such a welcoming environment, even though I knew I'm in the room, I have no idea what anyone's saying. They could be speaking Chinese and I would understand just the same. So that's kind of one of my goals, is to make sure that everyone who walks into PTV feels welcome and feels like that people are actually going to be willing to teach them. And they don't feel like, oh, like I'm messing up, like I'm hurting the show. Like, no, you're here to learn and that's okay that you mess up and we will help you and we will fix it. And it's going to be okay, you know?
Yeah. Environment is a really important part of a learning process in general. And that's something we've kind of seen throughout our college careers is, I mean, people learn in different ways. Some people need that hands-on thing. Some people need you to show them before they actually get on the sticks or whatever it is. What's one aspect that you want to get back into with the studio? I mean, some people really like directing. Some people really like TDing. Some people like being on air. What's something that you miss with being at PTV?
I always liked directing. Ever since Studio 2, that was like just such a fun class. It was the most stressful thing ever. So stressful. I walked in, it's 7:30 in the morning, not doing my best. I was very nervous. But it was a really fun time because each day was different and it was fun to create new things. I love directing. I was assistant director for Jose's show. And it was just really fun to call things and you make it happen. That's really fun. I also just love being on air too. I was just something about it. It's fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, directing was always something that I loved doing, and especially for Hall Talk. If I wasn't on to host, I was almost always scheduling myself to be director. And that's something I aspire to now in my professional field. You know, I'm working as a crew member in New York for SNY, and my main goal is to become a director in sports television at some point. What are some of your goals for your professional aspect? You know, you're going into your junior year. I'm sure internships are on your mind, you know, job locations, you know, potential places in America, outside of America. That's a loaded question, but what are some of your goals?
I think definitely staying in America, just because, I know America. I'm from here. Definitely right now the goal is get as many internships as possible, learn as much as I can. So I know NBC just released their internships for 48 hours. It was a mad dash of applying and writing cover letters as fast as I can. It was very stressful, a couple hours of my life. I made it through.
Yeah.
Just, I feel like the goal is, I definitely know I want to do something with a little bit more creative freedom. That's why directing interests me, because you create it.
Yeah.
Freedom. So definitely working my way up. I don't think like being a cameraman sounds cool. Not really my goal. I'm willing to do it. I know how to do it. If I'm given the job, I will try to do it the best I can. I'll be enthusiastic about it, but not my ultimate dream. I definitely want to be more on that creative side.
Do you see yourself potentially becoming a producer, creating new content like you're saying, creating different stories and finding the right people to make those stories? Or do you want to be the person to streamline it all the way through as a director?
No, producing sounds cool too. Like I'm definitely would be open to doing that one day. The thing is, I'm just at this point in my life where I'm just kind of just
open,
going for it.
Yeah.
Just going for it, not really sure the end goal, but I'm on the path.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's something that's always tough as a college student to really be like, this is exactly what I want to do, especially in this field where it's so vast and you could do any combination of different things throughout your career. What's something that you've been the most comfortable with through your time in PTV or even at WSOU? One of the skills that you're like, I got this from the jump, or after a couple of times of practicing it, I feel really comfortable with that.
I don't know, because I'm the type of person where there's always room for improvement. Every time I do something, I'd be like, okay, you did a good job, but like next time we're gonna do this, this, and this better. So
that's a great mentality.
Out of the gate, I'm trying to think. I definitely had a lot of on-air experience before coming to Seton Hall, so that was something I definitely felt comfortable with, like reading off teleprompter and writing scripts. That was something I used to do in high school. So I knew how to do that pretty well. And editing, for the most part, like just a regular like linear sequence, I got it. Can I add special effects really? No. But I can put it together a story. I'll have a beginning, a middle, and end, and it'll look semi-decent, and the audio levels will be correct. And I'm confident in myself that I could do that.
That's great. Something that you mentioned was being comfortable on camera, reading the teleprompter. And the nice way that you two first met was at a pirate adventure where you guys got to be on screen together for a little something and doing things of that nature. So let's talk about you guys meeting for the first time at Pirate Adventure. One of you could start.
I guess I'll go first. Pirate Adventure was that summer before my senior year. So it was just me and Rob and Pace, Professor Pace, sorry. I'm going to call him Pace. And Pace in the studio. And it was a really interesting experience for me personally because I went to community college for 2 years and then I transferred to Seton Hall, and transfer students don't get invited to Pirate Adventure. So I had never been a part of it. So I was just as much in the new boots as much as Veronica was. And it was just this fun experience of like just sitting in the studio and waiting for like these excited, fresh out of high school, new freshman college students to like walk in and be like all these wide-eyed, like, whoa, just like having the time of their life. And it's so funny because I still have the photos from Pirate Adventure, and I remember like seeing Veronica sitting at the desk, and like I think Val might have also been there. I remember seeing Christian.
I think Val, Liam, and Christian were all there too.
Yeah, I remember
Amazing.
seeing all three of them that same day, and a couple of other people I remember who ended up coming and working at PTV. But I remember seeing Veronica sitting at the desk, and like she seemed perfectly casual, and she seemed so excited to be there and was just happy to be a part of it. And I mean, I don't think Veronica and I even had a conversation that day, but as soon as Veronica then came for our interest meeting, I was like, I know you. I've seen you before. So
I'm back.
She's back.
Veronica, I'd like to hear your take on that first time being in the studio, first time getting to be in that environment.
I was super excited. The whole thing about Pirate Adventure, I was like very excited and very nervous because like I went to Seton Hall and was like, I don't know if I'm really gonna fit in. Like, am I gonna make friends? There was a lot of just, I'm meeting all these new people. It was a very overwhelming experience, but very fun. I remember walking the TV studio, it was like, oh my God, this looks so cool. Didn't even notice, I think the cameras were in standard definition. Like that didn't even cross my mind. I couldn't care less. I was just so excited to be there. I think what's really funny is there's a picture of all of us in the room. It's Fam, Rob, me, Christian, Val, Liam, and none of us are next to each other. And I think that's so funny because we don't know each other yet and we're not really friends. And then you see, like, November, we take a picture, we're all next to each other, like, woo! In that moment, we're complete strangers. And that's what I love seeing that picture because it's just it's so funny. And even in my first class in college, me, Val, and Liam were all in the same class, and none of us sat next to each other. Because we weren't friends yet. Like, that's so crazy. Like, now we'd be right next to each other in the front, like, giggling. Like,
I mean, that's kind of how me and Fam were as well.
I was literally about to say, Tommy loves to tell the first story of him and I's first class in studio production 1.
I won't. Okay.
Go for it, dude.
We'll
it's infamous at this point.
So we were both in the audio booth, just like getting set up and getting ready for instruction for the day. And Chris is on his phone, just like la-di-da, doing his thing. I'm like, hey, man, how you doing? And he doesn't answer me. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I tried to say something else, and he gave like a quick answer, but like didn't look off of his phone. But then like a month or two later, we're kicking each other's knees in while watching reviews of the TV shows that we've been putting on. And I mean, we really got close because of everything that we did through PTV, going on field shoots for sports and everything, being the only ones to volunteer. And I mean, that's how we got close. But within the classroom, it was really just destroying each other, any opportunity that we had. And it was a lot of fun.
I hate that story because it makes me sound like such an a-hole.
But you're not I know that you're not. I mean, you're my partner in crime now.
I've never been the person to like not look at someone when they talk to me or not acknowledge someone when they speak to me. But apparently with Tommy, I was like, this dude does not matter in any sense of the word, so let me not even acknowledge him. But yeah, no, that could be way oh no, my water. It could be no less incorrect. That's so upsetting. It was going so well and I dropped my water.
It's okay. But something that you guys mentioned before this was being at Pirate Adventure and kind of trying to teach the ropes to these new kids and try to make them excited for coming in. And that's something I really grew fond of doing at my time in Seton Hall is welcome to the studio. We want to make you feel comfortable not only before you come here with these open houses and everything like that, but making sure that if you come here, you're going to excel, you're going to do great things. I always mentioned I was in business first just to show like you're already a step ahead wanting to be in this profession and you're going to do great things. Veronica, I know you've been to a few open houses and I'm not sure if you've been to a Pirate Adventure as a leadership position, but talk about that as a leadership position, trying to get people to come in as recruits and trying to show off the studio as we love it to these people that are new.
I think it's so much fun meeting the new people. I think it's so exciting because they're so interested and it's nice to get new energy, new people in the studio because they're like, wow, like they see this switcher for the first time. They're like, oh my God, that is so intense. And then in reality, you only use like half the buttons, but at first it looks crazy. And it's like to see their eyes and like them to see the studio for the first time and like hear about what they do. And you could tell immediately, like, which is funny. Like if they're interested, like you'll know immediately. And then there's certain people you could just tell they're out. Like they don't want to be there. They're like, this isn't funny. And I'm like, no, you know what? Good for you for not knowing it's for you. You gotta know what you like and what you don't like. But it was always a good time, especially like they're just excited to be there. They're excited to learn new things, learn about this cool school, see if they want to go here. It's always fun.
My favorite thing about doing those kinds of tours, especially since I did Pirate Adventure and then doing like open houses or accepted students days, like those two were so different because Pirate Adventure was only the students, where open houses, it was students and their parents. So like Tommy and Veronica, you know what I'm talking about because we were both there. Anytime there was a parent there, the kids were just silent. They would just tightly hold their little folder and they would just sit there and they would just soak in everything you said. And then as soon as like, does anybody have any questions? The parents would look at their kid first and then they would look back at you and then they would ask the question, be like, well, so how do you get to do what's the experience like first year? And then that's where Pace would then look at me and Rob or one of us and just go, You tell them. I've been speaking all day. I don't care. So it was, those days were so fun to me because I think it kind of comes with the idea of being a prospective leader or being a student leader, is that initially it's just within us to want to explain why we do this and why we enjoy it so much. So those days for me were like, they were so much fun. I always look forward to doing them because there's very few things that are better than telling someone why you do something and why they should do it, because it's fun. It's fun to talk about something you're interested in. So hopefully, Veronica, you feel the same way, and we'll be able to do that for the next 2 years. I don't know if there's going to be open houses, though, because of coronavirus.
I don't know. There was no Pirate Adventure. I was so excited because I live close to school. I was like, cool, like maybe I'll go to Pirate Adventure. Like that would be really fun. Didn't happen. Upset.
Yeah, it's one tier, single tier.
Single tier.
But Chris, you mentioned something like you get to show your passion in a different way of, instead of just creating something and showing your passion that way, you're bringing these new people in and you're trying to show that your passion will hopefully rub off onto them and bring them into, I mean, we've always called it a family at Pirate TV. So it's like bringing a new family member into it. And something that you also mentioned was interacting with the professor that was there to also administer the open house or accepted students and stuff like that. We got to work with Wayne Bollweiler a lot, and we had a good rapport. We knew how to bounce off of each other. We kind of knew each other's timing. And Veronica, I know you worked a lot with Bollweiler throughout your classes. Kind of speak onto that. You guys did a lot of stuff for Field 1 and 2 together and kind of learning each other's mindset and how each other works. What's that like, trying to mold yourself to different people, say it's a student like us or to a professor like him?
Well, it was always interesting. Well, I call Bollweiler V-Dog. He knows I call him V-Dog, so I'm going to refer to him as V-Dog. So, if that's okay with the group.
Oh, that's perfect.
So me and V-Dog had this lovely thing where I took DC and Field with him at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was with him 2.5 hours, so whatever, like a lot of hours a week. Let's go with that. I'm a comm major. I don't do math.
We're just like, math more than 5? No.
I can't read. It's okay.
I think it's 5 hours. I could be wrong, but math, okay? So it's interesting because everyone has such a specific way of how they do things. Like Bollweiler, the way he likes things, I know you kind of like slowly can start to predict everyone's next step.
Mm-hmm.
Like with you guys in the studio, like I know. It was the easiest to tell in the studio because you each have different directing styles. I remember like Jill was very, very specific about her camera angles. Like super, super always on it, where you two would be a little more lax. Not saying that's a bad or a good thing. It was just a thing that would happen.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Like I know Tommy was always doing lighting. For some reason, Tommy was always on the ladder. I don't know if you enjoy lighting or not, but I remember, like, if you're learning lighting, you're going to go to Tommy because he's always doing it. And he's always very specific about how he likes it. Certain things like that. Certain people focus on different things.
It's true.
Interesting to see.
Fam, what do you think you really focused on when it was your day to direct Hall Talk or it was your producing day for a Pirate News?
I mean... All right, well, I'll start with Pirate News first because
our days for Pirate News were something.
Mondays for Pirate News were my favorite day. You kidding?
It's not even specific Mondays because there were times where Tommy and I had to direct different days on different semesters. It was honestly, I just felt like if I was directing or if I was producing for Pirate News, something was going to go wrong, and I had to be the one to fix it. And always, I felt like for Pirate News, if I was producing, I always wanted to do something different, like graphics wise on screen. Like I was always down to play with Chiron, or I was interested to have like a different lower third or like have a different box graphic come in or something like that. Like Pirate News, we had to be a little bit more rudimentary, follow the system because that's what we were teaching. It was almost like a class sort of to get people their experience getting used to like a news-based show. But for Hall Talk, I was like a completely different animal. Like I was willing to have people stand up in different parts of the studio. I was willing to have, I remember I wanted to introduce like a moving shot to open the show. And I wanted to have another moving shot to introduce panelists, and I wanted to have it be more conversation style. I mean, hell, I created, before we got that brand new perfect wall studio set for Hall Talk, like Tommy and I built a whole new studio layout for Hall Talk because I was so tired of this stupid, boring brown wall. So like I was like, let's add depth, let's add angles, let's make it fun. We have a TV, let's use it. Like we can use graphics and stuff like that. So that was something I felt like was very much me. But it was also, I felt like it was part of my responsibility as co-sports director. I felt like I had to make some kind of change or else I wasn't doing my job.
I felt like you were really the creative side of it, and I was like the technical aspect of it, making sure it could be done the way you wanted it done.
100%.
And I think it worked out really well because all of your ideas were good. And I mean, we would talk about it. We were roommates. We would talk about it at night, like, oh, we should do this. We should try this. And I'd be like, all right, let's see if we could actually like make it possible. And everything that we really set our mind to, we tried to get it done as best as possible with the help of Mr. Wiki and Mr. Lavasi. And I mean, those are the times that I love the most because it's like, all right, how are you going to do this new show with a different set and having the anchors looking at each other and having that be a different thing and trying to get the shot that way. And that's really the fun part of creating TV is there's so many moving aspects of TV where if you change one thing, it kind of changes other things as well. But it's all like a moving puzzle piece almost. And it's like trying to make your own puzzle the way you want it. And everybody has their own different puzzle. It's never the same puzzle every time. Veronica, when you direct and everything, what are certain things that you really look for? I know that you're nice and comfortable. I feel like you're not really that nervous. I feel like you're where you're supposed to be when you're directing. So how do you approach it?
I'm trying to think. Well, Pirate News, I feel like is different because you have to have a set format.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've directed Hall Talk now a couple times, and I feel like that's like a better example. My thing is I always try to predict who's going to talk next because you have to make sure you know who's talking next. And I always try to switch it up a little. Try to add something different every time. Do I always succeed with that? No. But it's about trying the new things.
Exactly.
You know? So I love that the shot on 3 that I think Fam started where you get the wide shot, but it's on camera 3. Love doing that. I throw that in all the time.
That was another thing that was, I guess it kind of just comes to nature from like my experience like working as a camera operator at like regular jobs, but it, like even when we were doing classes, I have this very vivid memory, Tommy, of when I know you weren't in TV Studio 2, but I think you were.
I was working it.
You were working it, and I was a camera operator for somebody's Studio 2 show, and like I had this weird shot outside where like I had to get an over the shoulder shot, and then my camera was done for like the rest of the show, and then I was like. But the scene kept going and they were only using one camera. I was like, this is boring, this is boring, this is boring. So like almost instinctually, I like went and got another shot for the person and I can hear pace over the headset behind someone. Like, look at what Chris is getting for you. Look at what he's doing. Like that was, and then I did it for Hall Talk as well for like our old producers when we were the producers in training. Like when I was a camera operator for Hall Talk, like I would try and get these different angles or I would try and get a 2-shot or something that was different and outside of the norm and see how they responded to it. Because my thought process was worst case scenario, they just tell you to go back to your shot. Like it's not like the show's going to implode because I was like, hey, look at this angle. It could be fun. And then, it worked out. And that's what kind of led my process to wanting to get a 3-shot from the side. It might not be something you always get, but it could be, it's about diversifying and making your show interesting with the abilities you have. We were a 3-camera studio that had not that huge of a space to work with. So I think we worked with the things we had. So that was the whole point, was to be a little bit innovative at every position, not just in the director or the producer's seat.
Yeah. And I think it's a really interesting point that you bring up with when you're changing something and you hear in the background someone being like, oh, look at that. Like, it's such a good feeling because I got that with Hall Talk one time. Anwar, the former EP before Rob, he was directing Hall Talk and I was on camera 1 and I was similar to what you were doing, changing my shot a little bit, seeing like how they would think of the next shot coming up. And he said, good shot. I didn't even have to like tell you to do anything. Thank you for doing that, all that type of stuff. And it's very rewarding to get something like that, especially when you're someone new into this field. Veronica, I wanted to know if there was any moment during your PTV career where you kind of felt like you were in the right place. Someone complimented you on doing something and you were like, all right, like I know I'm supposed to be here now.
I'm trying to think. Definitely when you guys asked me to be a producer in training, I was so nervous. I thought I was in trouble. You guys were like, Veronica, can you stay after and talk to us? I was like, yeah, sure. I'm like, I'm getting called to the principal's office. They hate me. Like, this is it. This is the end.
Oh my God, I never felt like we had that power over you.
I was like, they're gonna be like, you're doing such a bad job. What were you thinking? It was rough. I was like, I'm trying to think of other times. Definitely that was like the main one where I was like, okay, like I must be decent if you're considering me for this.
It must be okay.
Like, I can't be that bad.
I remember that moment a lot because I remember we actually pulled you outside at some point and Fam started talking. He's like, listen, you're doing a really great job. There's all these different things. I was like, so do you want to be a producer in training? And you're like, yeah. But like, he was like leading it up and I was just like, no, she deserves to know right now. But that's kind of how me and Fam worked. It was like very polar opposites at times, but we complemented each other with those polar opposites. It's opposites attract type of thing of like, he was more aggressive in the way that he wanted things to get done, trying to do new things and trying to push the limit of what we could do. And I was like the calming of like, all right, let's try to like think this out and we'll get it done together type of thing. And I think we really complemented each other that way.
It's a bit
You could do it.
Symbolic of our personalities, is it not?
I was about to say, it totally matches your personality.
Because I'm a bit of a loud, boisterous person, especially when I was in the studio, and Tommy was the person who was like, okay, don't worry, guys, he's, you know.
We were the mom and dad, and that's okay.
It was perfect. I like trained under you guys, so I was always there. And like, I remember you guys would like, if you would work perfectly together, because you had like, Fam would be like, what is this? And Tommy's like, we got this. And you guys would work together and you both had a lot of knowledge of the TV studio. It just worked. I don't know. You guys were yin and yang.
Well, Veronica, I mean, I got a lot of opportunities to work with you, like in field reporting specifically. I mean, you went to way more basketball games than I ever thought you would. But just as PTV as a whole, kind of similar to Tommy's question, like what is your favorite PTV memory, like working wise? I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of memories like for the fun side of us, like all hanging out and after shows and stuff like that, but like as project based, like what was your favorite thing to work on right now?
Definitely, I loved, you guys weren't here for it, Dately and Plate was one of the funnest days in the TV studio to ever exist. First off, I was late, which was a whole thing. Ben was so mad at me. It's like, Ben, I'm so sorry. He's like, it's fine, whatever. We're doing this show. We're like making things up randomly. On we go. It was such a spur of the moment thing. I was like, tell us the questions beforehand. They wouldn't to get our live reactions. You guys should have heard the outtakes. I'm not going to say them now.
I know one of them, and it's something.
Not saying them. Another good moment was even just like the first basketball game at the Prudential. I think I was with you, Fam, right? Or Tommy, one of you, Jill, and Frank.
Yeah.
And me.
Yeah, I think that was Fam.
So it was 4. And just like walking onto the court through the thing for the first time was like, this is so surreal. Like, this is crazy. Like, just sitting there, just like Fox Sports is next to us. I'm like, what's going on? Like,
yeah.
Why am I even here right now? Like, it was so crazy, but it was so fun.
My favorite thing that you did was one of the last Robbie on the Greens that we did together, and you were an intern.
Oh my God, yeah, it was perfect.
So good.
That was like the only Robbie on the Green shoot I wasn't on, and I missed some gold for that one. I'd like to hear both of you kind of talk about that last shoot for Robbie on the Green.
It was like, because we had been trying to make Robbie on the Green for months, because Rob was so busy because he's Rob and overwhelms himself, and like it was just this perfect day. Like I got out of my internship early. I like ran back to campus to like go and work on this. Like Veronica was just like, oh shit, what's up guys, I'm here to help. And then like Jill was like meant to be on there, and Christian was the camera operator. and Rob was Robbie on the Green. And it was like just the questions were perfect, the props were perfect. Like Rob was in his just the best Robbie on the Green mood he could have been in. Veronica being there to help was perfect because she was like, listen, I'll go wrangle people. I'll go run somewhere. Literally, she was like this little Energizer bunny for this production team. It was perfect. And when we came up with the idea for her to be the one that Rob runs up to, it was just so funny. It was so well done. And
the rest of the week, I think you guys called me intern too.
Yeah,
it's very funny.
It was so.
I think at the dinner they were like, "Congrats, you're not an intern anymore." It's like, "Thanks, guys." It was funny.
Yeah, that video was I think it was my favorite Robbie on the Green to work on because Rob was in the best mood that he could be for on the screen. Like me and Jill just kept coming up with these great ass questions to ask, and having Veronica and Christian there it was so well done. We got so many funny responses and editing that video afterwards. Like
that was actually a ton of fun too, editing.
To edit it and put in like subtitles and like these little music flashes. It's just so funny. It was so funny.
Wasn't there the one shot where Veronica's like chasing after him and you like kind of hear her voice in like the ether of the in the video? It's just so perfectly done, very well timed and everything like that. I feel like everyone was on their A game for that video.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to have to watch that video after this.
I am too.
Well, I'll give you the opportunity right now. I think this was an amazing conversation. We're running low on time. Veronica, I want to thank you so much for coming on this week. You were a pleasure to have, as always. And please like and subscribe to this content. We really appreciate all of you watching our videos week in and week out. For Chris Famulero and for Veronica Gail, thank you and have a nice day.